Alright boys, some of you are following along with Glenn's G8. As in the beginning, we did a little bit of dyno tuning. We dynoed it totally stock. I'll go over this stuff later. In the end, we decided to, for fun, with like 100,000, 125,000 miles on it, we decided to add a flex fuel sensor. Since I had a few extras, Glenn was curious about it since there was minimal modification to his daily driver. And funny enough, shortly after the flex fuel sensor went on, plenty of people were asking about it. And shortly after everyone generated a ton of interest, it suffered a mechanical issue. So I was like, well, it's a DOD car. It has 150,000 on it. That's probably all that happened. So I had him bring it over, and the engine ran pretty quiet. It just had a misfire, and it sounded like it was off. So I tore it down, and in the video you guys might have watched, I'll include links. I also made a Glenn playlist that this is going to be a part of. Anyway, I tore it down, and he had, like I mentioned in the other videos, about 4 should have been catastrophic failures that did not end in catastrophe. So what we did was slam it back together. I reused the stock head gaskets. I reused the stretch bolts for the heads. Everything went back in, except for we swapped out the stock cam with an LS3 cam. I said to Glenn, he was very anxious about keeping his mileage. He drives this car hundreds of miles sometimes in a week, so needlessly throwing away mileage for some power is not what he's about, and he didn't want to buy injectors, didn't want to mess around with exhaust. So I was like, well, just buy the slightly bigger cam. I think that'll work really well. So he bought an LS3 cam, we put regular lifters in, I blocked off the DOD system. It has the flex sensor on it still, and after all of this happened, we finally did the retune the other day just to see what it would make, and ended up with some incredible results. So I'll show you some of the dyno footage now, and through this whole montage I guess I will show what we did and what we damaged. Here we go with a quick dyno pull. Tons of belt noise. AC belt is ready to come apart. First hit, 348. Dang, that's pretty good. So I messed with fuel and spark a little bit, and this was funny. I told Glenn to get video of the butt sniffer in the back, and he ran back there for the dyno pull.
It's already thrown the belt like 3 times.
Yeah.
When I did the front end, I'm like...
Alright, now let's quickly talk about this. And this car, that is the blue line, which is when this thing was totally stock. Shortly after Glenn bought it in 2010, it was on 87 octane, which is what you can run stock. Not really recommended, but they say you can do it. We threw it on the dyno, and it made 276 horsepower. So that's not a fabrication, not a lie. Obviously, not the best case scenario for this car, but that's, representative to what they put down in some people. So the 310 horsepower is everything as is, totally stock. still with like 125,000 miles, and we put the flex fuel sensor on, and that's how much power it made with just E85 tune-up. So the green line you're seeing, the largest one obviously, that is with the LS3 cam, the DOD deleted, and it's making 353 horsepower on ethanol. The plan here is to empty the tank of about 75% ethanol, which is what it was tuned on the dyno. That's what these results are. And he wants to fill it up with 87 until it gets down to like 10 or 15% ethanol, and we're going to re-dyno and see what kind of power it makes now with the LS3 cam and 87 octane, and then we want to see the net result as is right now, what the power difference between 87 and E85 with the combination as is. But this is a substantial upgrade for people who have a G8 who are going to do a DOD delete anyway. In my opinion, at some point they're going to get rid of the DOD equipment. We had gone over this, and Glenn said he lost about 1 or 2 miles per gallon, and that's just because he eliminated the DOD system. And the LS3 cam gets pretty much the same mileage, and then he also said when he is running on E85 he gets about 1 mile per gallon less. So an average loss of about 2 to 3 mile per gallon to pick up 77 horsepower peak, quite a bit of mid-range down low, flex fuel capability, and ethanol in our area is $1 cheaper than 87, so it's definitely offsets the cost. Some people are like, well, it uses more, but not on a naturally aspirated vehicle only making 350 horsepower. Another thing to discuss is this is the stock fuel pump still, stock everything, stock injectors, and we're at about 95% injector here at 353 horsepower to the tire. So it's really just the sensor, lifters, a little bit of work to remove the DOD stuff, and the LS3 cam, off-shelf LS3 cam, like $120 from most parts retailers. So quite a result, really nice. Let me know if you guys have any questions, but pretty much wraps it all up.